Hey gang, welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. Today's video is part 41 in the crunchy Cobra Jet series, also known as Slither. Now in the previous video, I applied epoxy primer to the bottom of the car, seam sealer, red oxide, and I think it all turned out really nice, and I've had some great feedback on that video. And now what I want to do is work on the inside. So I have to prep the inside of the car, get it all scuffed and ready, and part of that will be stripping off the EDP coating on the tail panel, seam sealing everything, making sure it's nice and watertight or as best as I can, and then spraying more red epoxy primer on the inside. I also need to spray the inside of the quarter panels with the Shutz coating and make sure that has some sound deadening effect to it, and just kind of follows the process of what Jerry Heasley has done and kind of mimics what they did at the factory. So let me show you what the plan is. So again, I need to strip off the coatings on the back side of the tail panel, add seam sealer where any kind of overlaps are, and seam seal around the perimeter of the quarter panels and stuff like that. I also want to scuff up the inside of all of this, make sure I seam seal all the corners around the mini tubs and everything else, and then apply the red epoxy primer. The rest of this will become all red on the inside, and then later on it will probably get some spray of black or overspray of the original paint color when it comes down to it. Everything else is looking pretty good. I'm very happy with how everything turned out overall. And of course, all of this will get stripped off outside later on, and then get epoxy sprayed on the entire outside of the body. So things are moving pretty nicely. Very happy with all of this. I was looking at this. I did see, you know, there's a gap underneath the opening there for the firewall and that apron. I'm debating on adding some seam sealer to that area. Again, I don't see this car being out in the weather and getting exposed to the elements like it was, and it may not even be necessary, but I'm looking at that. And of course the engine bay is going to get painted as well, and I have a specific kit that Charles provided in order to do that. So I'm going to get started on the back of the car and finish stripping off everything that I can. I had my GoPro cut off in the middle of this process. Yay. Actually, I didn't film anything past the first 37 seconds of my start point. So as I was explaining things, I was seam sealing all in here, all up in there, all up in the front, and talking about different things and why I was doing it and whatnot. So I'm going to start over. I did seam seal this area right here all the way down, and I did around the tail light, the tail panel. So I will be doing the same thing on the other side. Yeah, Mr. GoPro decided to quit on me, and I don't know why. So we're going to continue on. I'm going to start over. Okay. So we're going to start over on this side now. As I mentioned before, Jerry Heasley had done some different things, and I was seam sealing up around the perimeter of the toe board and the firewall transition, and you got these big gaps like down here. So what I want to do, and I didn't do it all the way on that side, so I'll have to go back and do it. I want to seam seal this corner and then these overlaps. This one, it wouldn't hurt to do it as well while you're there. So we'll start with that and get up here in this corner. And as I mentioned, I'm not going for bonus points for having it look perfect. I know somebody commented in the last video that they didn't like the fact that I made it all just kind of rough. And you know, that's what the factory did. And they pointed out, hey, just because the factory did it that way doesn't mean you have to do it that way. And I get it. I get it. But it also doesn't mean that I have to spend the extra time to make it look, you know, spot on perfect, especially when the intent is just to keep moisture out. I'm not gonna gain much as far as style points or looks if it's still doing the task. Yeah, okay. I'll do that on the other side too. I didn't even really think about that too much. So I gotta fill up this. And I did mention when I first started filming that I had blown this all out and wiped it down, and you know, the intent is like doing these welds just to fill in any pinholes. And then this seam right here, even though it's sealed up at the bottom, I want to keep moisture out from the inside as well, because we'll assume, you know how that is, that this car never will see moisture on the inside. It shouldn't. If it does, there's definitely something wrong. But it doesn't mean we can't be a little proactive and create a barrier for that. I'm not too worried about where the overlap here is for the floor pan. That's sealed from the bottom side. It wouldn't hurt to add some seam sealer there. You know, just takes a little bit since the gap is so tight. But again, this should not ever see the kind of moisture that it, you know, was exposed to before, just from life. Now in the Heasley video, he had also put some seam sealer up here. I'm not sure that it matters. And I know he was talking about like pinholes, stuff like that, and I get it. Just trying to keep anything out, and that's not a bad idea. So from there, he had also put some on top of these seat bracket things. Okay, so you've already seen I've gone across that seam where the brackets, the braces are in place for the exhaust, and I also went around the entire wheelhouse. But on this side, I'm gonna do some other things that I've already shown. I tried to show in the previous video section that didn't record. You know how that is so rewarding. And of course, I mentioned in what I was trying to say in the previous segment that didn't record was I put all this paper on here with the idea that when I spray the red, it just doesn't come out all over the place. I'm going to try to keep it contained as much as I can, and I don't want it coming forward out of the windshield area. So that's why I'm kind of doing it the way I did it. Now, I don't feel like I need to go around the perimeter of those plates. Shouldn't make any difference there. I guess I could put some up here in this overlap where the B-pillar meets the rocker. Now, I'm going to tilt this over so I can show you some access here. The main thing I want to get taken care of on the inside of the quarter is the overlap to the rocker panel. And I want to fill this area up there. Again, to keep moisture out. Now moisture can get in here, but the idea is that you don't want it building up between the, I ripped a hole in my glove. You don't want it building up between the overlapping flanges. So I'm not going to be sparse with the sealer in this location. And these holes right here in the rockers, that's meant for water drainage. So that's why they're there. I'm going to go around these pinch welds just again to keep moisture out. It should never see moisture in this area. But you don't want the overlap to have that option. Now what I want to do is rotate this the other way. Rotisserie makes all the difference in doing this task. Like I said, he had also put some on top of these. Now, we'll finish off and I know this is awkward. There's really no other way for me to film this without having actually somebody else holding the camera. So the odds of that happening are nil. Now he put some on these. Now what I'm going to do is put some around the perimeter of the taillight overlap. Or I say taillight, tail panel overlap. And I can't show you all the way down in that corner, but anywhere there is a overlap, you want to make sure you got sealer in there. Now there'll probably be a few areas that I'll touch up moving forward. I don't know that it's going to matter much to have it on stuff like this. But I guess the factory did something similar. Okay, you can hear the fan is running. I've got all the seam sealer everywhere that I think it needs to be. Got up underneath the cowl and everything. And in that video that Jerry Heasley did, he took some of this stuff and just went over top of these areas. Now, is it that important? Probably not, but I guess it's to give it some texture, I guess. And I get that, the idea that you want to have some texture, so when everything else is done on top of it, it kind of mimics the original look to it. So I'll do the same thing. I'm not as good left-handed as I am right-handed, but it is what it is. So I will do the rest of this, try to copy what he did in effect, and make it look close. I think it'll work. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm all done spraying it. Alright, so I have, of course, sprayed the undercoating material on top of the seam sealer, just like Jerry Heasley did, and I think it looks pretty good. I see a hole that I missed. I better tape that off so I don't get overspray going forward. The plan at this point is to spray all of this red and then add the Shutz coating into the openings in the quarter panel, and then later on this will get painted with some body color, and at that point it'll look completely different. But that's where I'm at, and that's going to be the plan moving forward. I know I can't get my head in all these tight spots with the camera. But I'm trying. All right, I think that looks pretty good. I did have a little trouble with the paint gun, but I managed to resolve that. And now the interior is all, well, as close to red oxide as I'm going to get it. Again, this is the material that Charles bought, and it's what I'm using. So what I need to do at this point is prepare to spray the Shutz coating on the inside of the quarter panels. So I'll have to retape off the side marker light and then get some of that sprayed in there, and then we'll have another look at it. But overall, I am very happy with how this looks. Okay, I know you've seen this before. I did have this on the paint shaker, shake well. This is the Shutz coating. This is the Shutz gun, and of course the regulator that I put on it. And the next thing I'll need to do is put one of these into here. So in order to do that, you have to break this seal. There you go. So this will go in here, and again, it's a little, you have to kind of put it in a little sideways, and now it's locked in. The gun will cam into that, lock in, and now it's ready to go. So I'm going to put the respirator on, and we're going to go spray this. I didn't really want this to be in this area. So y'all can learn from this too, huh? Okay. I'm going to switch gears and go up here. Get out here where I can rotate it. Okay. Now, All right, things are looking really good right now. I'm very happy with how this has turned out. I have now sprayed, of course, the Shutz coating inside of the quarter panels. It may not be exactly what they had or what they had done on the assembly line back in the day, but it's what Charles asked me to do, so that's what I did, and I think it looks really, really good. Now I also will show you that I did some touch-ups. So in this area I added some more undercoating just to clean it up a little, and then underneath here I put a little on that area, and back here I did spray it kind of like they would have done back in the day. I got overspray on the frame rail. That's how Charles wanted it, and I did not back spray into the wheelhouse, so there is the red there, and I assume that's what they would have had, or how, you know, Charles wanted it to look. So I'm very happy with it. Of course I did do some patchwork up here on the roof. I made these filler pieces, and this is very shallow. It's only about a 1/16 of an inch. Really not worth trying to add a piece of metal and making it too thick. So I'm good with that. And yeah, I am very happy with where this is right now. Still more to do though, a lot more to do, but it's a big step. All right, I think I'm at the end of this video. There's not much else I can do at this point. I know that in the previous video I had done the underside of the car, I put primer in the engine bay, seam sealed a bunch of stuff, and of course in this video I did more of that to the inside of the car. And all of this is what Charles wanted me to do. He had bought the materials, and so I'm going to use those materials and try to do it the way he wanted it done. Now there's still a lot more to do. I still have sheet metal work to do. I've got to make sure the doors fit right, the fenders fit right, and the hood. The hood that I have is not a Cobra Jet hood, and I'm going to have to cut a hole in that hood or find another Cobra Jet hood that's in great shape that I can use. So that may be something I'm on the hunt for. I don't know just yet. The next phase of this will be getting it off of the rotisserie and getting the suspension under it, making it mobile, so that I can finish doing all the metal work. I want to make sure that it's on the suspension before I finish all that stuff. People have said before, and it is true, you can have some flex. If it's on a lift or a rotisserie, you don't want to have it like that. So I know most of the stuff that I did obviously was on my jig, and I feel confident with that, so I don't see there's going to be any problems. Now the next couple phases down the road is going to be painting this. I don't have the paint yet. It will be the original color black jade, and I have to get the paint, and of course I'll be preparing for that eventual process. But the problem I'm going to run into is the weather. I can't paint in June, July, August, maybe even September. The weather just gets too hot, and it's not good for me. I don't have a controlled environment. I do have AC in this part of my shop, but I don't have enough of the air needed to keep the paint booth area cool enough so that it doesn't affect the paint. So that gives me plenty of time to finish out all the body work. I can do all the primer work, all the body work. That won't be a problem. And then the paint work will come later. So again, I want to thank all of you for being here. I especially want to thank my patrons who are continuing to support me. That has been fantastic. Even though I'm making what I feel are pretty good videos now, of course on YouTube, the revenue continues to go down, and it just doesn't seem to make any sense. But my patrons are helping me to continue to make these videos, and I appreciate them so much. If you're interested in becoming a patron, there is a link in the description below. Also, there are links to my Amazon page, any of the products that I use that I have discounts available. They're on there too, so if you're interested, you can buy something there. If not, that's fine too. But as it is, I want to thank you once again, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.